Have you ever felt like your luck just ran out? For Ken, it wasn't just a feeling. It was a nightmare. Once a respectable office worker, Ken lost his job during the pandemic. With a family to feed and bills piling up, he swallowed his pride and got behind the wheel of a taxi. Life was tough, but Ken was a fighter. He was also a devout Christian, which meant certain local traditions, like the Ghost Month, were just superstitions to him. He never imagined that one small, dismissive act could unravel his entire world. One sweltering afternoon, during the 7th lunar month, Ken saw a group of elderly aunties burning joss paper by the roadside. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of incense. To Ken, it was a fire hazard, nothing more. Without a second thought, he stomped on the smoldering pile of hell money, scattering the ashes to prevent a potential fire. The aunties gasped, their eyes wide with a mixture of shock and fear. Ken just shrugged and drove off, completely unaware that he had just kicked over a spiritual hornet's nest, offending unseen entities that were now watching him. That very night, Ken's luck began its terrifying downward spiral. He was driving near an old, forgotten village on the outskirts of the city, the kind of place where streetlights flicker and die. Suddenly, a flash of black darted across the road. Ken slammed on the brakes, his heart pounding against his ribs. It was a cat, a jet-black cat. Shaken, he got out to check if he'd hit it. The narrow lane was empty. The cat had vanished as if it had dissolved into the shadows. Confused, Ken turned back to his taxi. And that's when he saw her. In the dim glow of the interior light, a woman was sitting in his back seat. She was wearing a blood-red dress, her long black hair obscuring her face. A paralyzing cold gripped Ken. He hadn't seen or heard anyone get in. He froze, his hand on the door handle. The woman slowly lifted her head. Her face was pale, almost translucent, and her eyes were like dark, empty pools. Lim Chua Kung Cemetery, she whispered, her voice a chilling echo in the silent car. Ken's training took over. He got in, his hands trembling as he gripped the steering wheel, and started driving, not daring to look in the rearview mirror again. The drive was the longest of his life, shrouded in an eerie silence. When they reached the cemetery gates, Ken pulled over. He turned to tell her the fare, but the back seat was empty. The scent of funeral flowers, gardenias, hung heavy in the air. A sudden, overwhelming exhaustion washed over him. He felt his eyelids grow heavy, and before he knew it, he had drifted off to sleep, right there in the driver's seat. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the windshield, waking him with a jolt. He wasn't in his car. He was lying on the cold, damp grass, next to a tombstone. And on that tombstone was a photograph of the very woman he had driven last night. Her name was Lin Lin. Died 2 years ago. Ken scrambled back to his car and sped home, his mind racing. But the horror had just begun. That night, and every night after, Ken was haunted by the same horrifying dream. He would see Lin Lin walking on a dark road, then the blinding glare of headlights, the screech of tires, and the sickening thud of a car hitting her and speeding away. He saw it all through her eyes. He felt her pain, her fear, her final, fading breath. The dreams were so vivid, so real, that he woke up screaming, drenched in cold sweat. Driven by a mix of terror and a strange sense of responsibility, Ken went to the police. He recounted every detail from his dreams. The officers listened, but with skepticism. The case was 2 years old, cold as the grave itself. No witnesses, no evidence, no leads. They thanked him for his time and politely showed him the door. Ken was left alone with his ghostly burden. The nightly terrors took their toll. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't eat. He couldn't drive his taxi. He became a shadow of his former self, jumpy and paranoid. His wife, already stressed from their financial struggles, couldn't handle his erratic behavior. The constant arguments, his talk of ghosts and nightmares, shattered their relationship. "I can't live like this anymore, Ken," she finally screamed, her face streaked with tears. "You need to leave." Heartbroken and defeated, Ken packed a bag and moved into his grandparents' old, quiet house. His grandmother, A woman steeped in old-world wisdom listened patiently as Ken poured out his terrifying story. She wasn't dismissive. She simply told him, "You need to pray. Go to the temple." Desperate, Ken went. He lit incense, bowed before the gilded statues, and prayed for deliverance. As he was leaving the temple, an old man with kind, knowing eyes stopped him. "Young man," the old man said gently, "when one door closes, another one opens." Feeling a sliver of hope, Ken told the man everything. The old man listened intently, nodding slowly. "You have a debt to pay," he explained. "You cannot help her in your world, but you can give her the means to find justice in hers. Buy her just paper, hell money. Give her the resources she needs." The old man then added something strange. "Buy a lottery ticket with these numbers," he said, scribbling on a piece of paper. "If she accepts your apology, she will repay your kindness. If you win, your troubles will be over." Ken clutched the piece of paper. It felt like his last hope. He bought stacks of joss paper and a lottery ticket. He drove back to the cemetery, back to Lin Lin's grave. He knelt, lit the offerings, and watched the paper money turn to ash, the smoke curling towards the heavens. "Lin Lin," he pleaded, "please take this. Find someone powerful in your world to help you get justice. And please, leave me in peace." That night, for the first time in weeks, Ken's dream was different. Lin Lin appeared before him, not in terror but in tranquility. She smiled, a gentle, grateful smile. "Thank you, Ken," she whispered. "You have a good heart. I will return what you have lost." A feeling of profound peace washed over Ken, and he finally slept soundly. The next day, out of habit, he checked the lottery results. He stared at the ticket, his eyes widening in disbelief. He had won. First prize, $1 million. With the money, Ken was able to put his life back together. He went back to his wife, explained everything, and with the financial pressure gone, she forgave him. They were a family again. Life returned to a new, better normal. Ken even went back to driving his taxi at night, no longer out of desperation, but because he enjoyed it. One evening, cruising down a quiet street, he glanced in his rearview mirror, and his blood ran cold. Sitting in the back seat was another woman, also in a red dress, her eyes hopeful. It seemed Lin Lin had kept her promise, and in doing so, had spread the word in the spirit world. Ken, the man who had helped a ghost find justice, was now open for business. What do you think Ken should do? Should he become the underworld's taxi driver? If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the shadows. Thanks for watching.